led us into other businesses. And that's really been, if I was to say, the key to Leighton's success has not been so much in being a web agency, although we are still a software agency as Leighton, is what does that lead you into? And our first big business was in 1995. As you say, this was a really interesting time. Lots happening on the internet, people starting to pick up on it. Businesses starting to say, I should have a web presence.
Yeah, even though they didn't really know what that
meant. Didn't know what it was. And I'd gone on, I used to troll the internet. Very, very sad person. Just really to get ideas. And I came across Pittsburgh.com. Now, Pittsburgh is an old steel town in Pennsylvania. And Pittsburgh.com was a civic website jointly with Carnegie Mellon, which is the university in Pittsburgh, the Chamber of Commerce, and the City Council. And it was basically, come to Pittsburgh, invest in Pittsburgh, be educated at Carnegie Mellon. It's a great place to do this. And we suddenly thought, well, could we do something like that? Could we do something similar? But of course, to do that, we didn't know how to register a domain name. I'm going to have to be careful how I tell this story, because I was following at the time what you would call a blog now, but at the time they didn't use the word blog. But it was an online website by a guy who called himself Justin's Tales from the Underworld. Okay. And what Justin used to do was to give you help and advice on how to set up websites, how to do coding, how to do his advice on how to learn how to code was to lock yourself away and steal code off other people while you had a 6-pack of beer there. You know, it was this sort of, it was real sort of down home, silly advice. And Justin, who I had imagined was sort of Jerry Garcia sitting up in the hills above San Francisco, gnarled old techie, and turned out to be a second year at Stanford, you know, as these things do. Justin had decided that he wanted to register a website, and the way you registered a website in 1994, particularly a .com website, was to write to the American Academy of Sciences.
Write a letter to them.
Had to write a letter to them and prove to them that you were a honest, upright, responsible person who would take the domain. It would still remain there. You would be licensed the domain, and you had to prove to them that you were the right person to do this. So Justin, as Justin would, wrote to them, and I apologize, it is integral to this story. The name that he tried to register was fuck.com, right? So he wrote to them and tried to register this. And they politely wrote back to him and said, no, we're not going to allow you to use this. So he then wrote back to them again saying, what about the freedom of speech, amendment to the Constitution? I can use these words. They wrote back to him again, backwards and forwards. And they refused to give them. There's actually 7 words that you're not allowed to use in domain. I won't tell you what the other 6 are, but that was one of them.
Everyone out there is that one. There must be that one.
So he published the letters, which actually went between him and the American Academy of Science on his website, where he was justifying his position as a decent person to hold the license for this website. And clearly it appeared to me that if I almost copied those letters, but instead of putting in the F word, I put in Sunderland.com, and I referenced Pittsburgh.com, and I said what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an online community for this city in the Northeast, would just become a city, what would happen? And I put myself and my brother's name as the applicants. So a few weeks after we'd sent it off, we get a letter back, which not only says, yes, you can use Sunderland.com, not to own it, but just to use it at the time, but also to become domain registrars. And my brother is domain registrar. I think his number was 365, and I'm 366 because his first initial is G, Gerard, and I'm P. So that was we were alphabetic, which we at the time we didn't realize. We were just so delighted that we were going to do Sunderland.com. But of course, it suddenly dawned on us that we could actually register anything, and that therefore we set up a business, a spin-off business, effectively. Doing domain registration.
So that guy in wherever he was actually provided you with the guide for how to start all of that.
You know, you should always be looking for help and advice from the strangest places. And I don't know whatever he's done now, but I hope he got his degree at Stanford. That's all I can hope for. Yeah, so we ended up doing this, and it was quite an interesting few years. This is 1995, 96, because as you say, everybody was wanting to get on to the internet. And so what we were doing at first, we became domain name brokers. We would buy domains and then resell them.
And you must have been among the first in the UK to do that.
We were the first in the UK.